Okay, so we'll see if we can get through this without a baby crying. Genesis 49, 9 through 11. This is another prophecy of Jesus. This is one of the oldest prophecies of Jesus. You know, obviously it's coming from Genesis, which is like the beginning of the world. And this is Jacob. If you remember Jacob, he had the 12 sons, and 11 of his sons were very jealous, and they threw one of his sons into a pit, Joseph, and Joseph goes off into Egypt and ends up becoming a ruler in Egypt, and he brings all of his 11 brothers and his father into Egypt and gives them land to farm during a great famine. And Jacob's about to die, and he calls his sons together, and he says, gather yourselves together that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So obviously this is a prophecy of the last days that Jacob is giving to his sons, and it's supposed to be, you know, read and understood by Christians today. He says, gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, hearken unto Israel your father. And then he goes through each one of his sons, name by name, you know, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and he tells them exactly, you know, what's going to become of basically their heritage in the last days. And it says out of Judah, Judah is the tribe that we know Jesus came from. So Judah is the most significant one here. That's why I'm not going through all of them. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. So it's saying that all the children of Israel are going to bow down to Judah. And it's not Judah, but it's going to be Jesus that comes out of his loins. All the children of Israel are going to bow down to Jesus, is what it's saying. Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion. And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? And that's obviously talking about Jesus, who's called the Lion of the tribe of Judah in Revelation. So it just comes together full fold, you know, all the way from here to Revelation. This is the beginning of the Bible. And then at the end of the Bible, it tells us that Jesus is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So obviously I got a cold. It's winter time, so bear with me. 2 babies and a cold. So then here it tells us the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. Unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Now this is fulfilled in the fact that when Jesus came, when Shiloh came, they were still doing the sacrifices and everything according to the law in Israel, and they still had this, you know, sacrificial system, and everything was still going until Jesus came, until Shiloh came. And then when Jesus came, obviously Israel was torn apart after Jesus went to heaven, died, rose, went to heaven. Then all Israel was torn apart, and there was no more lawgiver. And so that prophecy was fulfilled in Jesus. It says, unto him shall the gathering of the people be. And we know that's talking about Jesus, because Jesus is coming back to gather the Christians and take them to heaven in the last days. The Bible tells us that. In Revelation chapter 7, we see a great multitude, which no man can number, before the throne, suddenly appearing in heaven. And it says, you know, where do these people come from? Out of great tribulation. So Jesus is going to gather the Christians out of great tribulation, and he's going to bring them to heaven. And there's going to be a great number, which no man can give before the throne. And that's what that's referencing. Unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Then it says, binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass's cull unto the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine. And obviously, you know, if you didn't catch the rest of it, because like I said, it's kind of encrypted, this last part is very clearly speaking of Jesus. It says, binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine. And Jesus, in Revelation, it says that he's coming back, and it talks about how his robes, he has a vesture dipped in blood. The blood is up to the horse's bridle. And, why is that? Because Jesus is coming back with judgment. He's going to judge all these heathen nations that have rejected Jesus as God. They've rejected Jesus as the Savior. Like the Muslim nations, even, the Jewish people have, for the most part, turned away from Jesus, although there's a remnant that is still, they've accepted Jesus, and they believe that he is their Savior, according to, obviously, Genesis even says it. According to the Old Testament, the Torah, Genesis, they've accepted the truth. There's a remnant of Jews that have accepted the truth, but the majority of them haven't. And Jesus is coming with judgment, and it says that the blood is going to go up to the horse's bridle. So here we see that Jesus has, he's washed his garments in wine, which is like blood. It's signifying that. And his clothes in the blood of grapes. And this seems so encrypted, but for a Christian who knows their Bible, it's not, because it's talking about when he's gathering the saved people and the Christians to heaven. And it says that he's throwing, the wicked people into the winepress of the wrath of God. So, that's obviously what it's speaking of. And it says his eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth white with milk. Again, obviously speaking of Jesus. And we see a direct reference to this in Revelation. So if we just go to Revelation and read, it tells us the same thing about Jesus, that his eyes are red and that he's coming back with wrath and anger against ungodly people, but yet at the same time he's coming to gather the Christians to himself.